The World Trade Center has been a long-lasting symbol of New York and the world's largest commercial complex. The Twin Towers were constructed in the early 1970s by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. The World Trade Center complex consists of 7 buildings, a shopping concourse, a courtyard, and from the observation deck it is possible to see 45 miles in every direction. The World Trade Center is also well known and well recognized by its facade. On the morning of September 11, 2001, 2 hijacked commercial jetliners slammed into Towers 1 and 2, causing a massive explosion that eventually caused the 2 110-story buildings to collapse, injuring and killing thousands of people.
That day was like a war zone. We found out that we were hit by a plane. I worked on the 69th floor of the World Trade Center, and it felt like a big explosion, and then it was like an earthquake. The building shook back and forth about 3 times, and then we ran into the hall, and someone said we got hit by a plane, so we started running down the stairs. We didn't wait for anybody to give us instructions. We just ran. And then it took us probably over an hour to get downstairs. But all that time, we didn't know that Building 2 was hit. We were just coming down the stairs as quickly as possible, and then when we reached the plaza level, we realized the devastation because there were, I hate to be graphic, but there were bodies all over the plaza and there was blood everywhere. And then when we got outside, they kept telling us, don't look back, don't look back. And when we looked up, we just saw Building 2 was hit, and then someone said we got hit by terrorists. And then we just kept running and running. We ran up to Broadway, which is a block away, and then that's when Building 2 came down, and that ball of smoke just followed us, so we just kept running uptown.
I was sitting at my desk and I actually was getting up to go say something to someone, and I heard this big noise, which must have been the plane coming over our building, and then I heard this big boom, which I thought was a transformer that blew, and it just sounded like my building was going to fall down, and I realized that it was much more than a transformer. I looked towards my window, and I thought my window was going to blow out, so I threw my hands up in front of my face and waited to hear a crash from the windows, and didn't hear that. I looked over at my window, and stuff was coming down from the Trade Center towards my window. So I looked up, and the big hole that everyone saw on the TV was what I was looking at, with a hole on 2 sides of the Trade Center. And as I looked up, this big fireball just blew out the side of the Trade Center, and all this stuff started coming at my window, and I started yelling that it was a bomb to all the people that I work with, and that's when everyone started gathering and trying to figure out how we were going to get out.
And my biggest fear was not knowing where my children were. Well, John I knew was at Ryder, but my other son went to school in Staten Island, and I had heard that all the bridges were closed, and I wasn't sure if he knew what happened or how he was even going to get home that night. And there wasn't any telephone service anywhere, so we couldn't even contact our families. And it took us hours later. I didn't get a chance to even call my husband until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So all that time, I knew that they were fearing for my life because no one knew what happened to us. When that building went down, people just couldn't imagine that anyone got out safely, and yet there were probably anywhere from 15 to 20,000 that actually made it out of the 2 buildings. But worrying about my family and them worrying about me, it just kept me going too. But it was heartbreaking. There were thousands of people just going through the streets, not knowing if their brothers, sisters, siblings that were left in the building were still alive. And then just seeing the firemen go into that building and us coming down the stairs and knowing they didn't make it out, that was heartbreaking too.
Once we finally found the stairs and started walking down the stairs, it hit me a little bit more as to what was happening. And all I could think of walking down the stairs, I was on the 20th floor, and all I could think of was, God, please let me get out of this building. Don't let this building blow up. And I have two little boys, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and just my thought was to get home to see my wife and my boys. And so I was on the street and trying to figure out what happened. I thought it was a bomb, and I was listening to people say that it was an airplane, and I was arguing with these two guys that there's no way it could have been an airplane. It was too clear of a day. And as I turned around, I saw the second plane hitting, and at that point, I knew I had to get in touch with my wife. So I saw someone on the street and asked him if I could use his cell phone, and he let me use it, complete stranger, but I wasn't able to get through. 3 or 4 other people let me use their cell phones also, and I wasn't able to get through. So it was probably about 45 minutes after the first plane hit that I found a payphone, and I tried about 10 times, just continuously dialing because it was busy and I wasn't able to get through. And then finally I got through to my wife, just to let her know that I was out of the buildings and that I was away from it, and I didn't know what else was going to happen, but I was away from that and I would be home at some point.
I was in my room just like a normal other day, and my roommates called into me. They said, Michelle, the World Trade Center is on fire. And we had no idea what happened. All we just saw was like flames coming off the top. And then we went to class, and that's when we got like the big news that it had collapsed. We actually went to class that day, and I just remember sitting in class and everybody being so frantic and nervous, and our teacher was trying to put the television on so we could all watch it. And then the next thing I knew, our teacher left the room and he went out and talked to another professor, and they said that the one building had actually collapsed. And he was just like, everybody can basically leave, because people were just crying. People were leaving to call, I guess, people that they knew that were actually there. And it was just a crazy day. I don't think I'll ever forget it. And actually, I lost a cousin who was a firefighter. I didn't really know him that well because I have a really large family, but I recently attended the mass, and it was good to see my family and to come together, because it's really sad. I personally didn't know anyone involved in my family that was there. However, a bunch of my roommates had friends and family members that were there. And I think no matter what, regardless if you knew someone that was personally there or not, everyone's going to be affected. It's such a big event that happened that I think no matter what, everyone will remember it. And you definitely know somebody that knew somebody that was there. I have a friend who I know commutes into the city every day, and she's a close friend of mine, and I know she has to pass the World Trade Center. So for a while, I couldn't get in touch with her. It was hard to get people back in New York on the telephone. So I didn't know where she was for a while, but she was okay.
Over 40,000 people worked in the World Trade Center, and another 70,000 people visited daily. Now, more than ever, people from around the world are coming to New York to show their support and grief for all the victims. Since the attacks of September 11th, there have been many candlelight vigils to remember all those who are affected and to pray for all the workers digging through the rubble at Ground Zero. Thousands of people have come to St. Paul's Cathedral, across from where the World Trade Center stood, to mourn the loss of loved ones by leaving flowers, flags, posters, and even lighting candles.
It was amazing to see all the people in New York come together at Ground Zero, show their support by giving flowers and lighting candles.
Now you just fear for everyone, and it's scary, and I don't want to travel that far away from home, and I want my kids close to me, because I'm just afraid I won't get to see them again. And I've gone back to church every week, and I think a lot of people are trying to find God again, and that's a good thing. It's positive.
I guess just by praying for the people who were there, and just remembering them, and trying to, I don't know, make sense of it all, watching the news and stuff. I mean, it's been really hard, but I mean, like, life goes on. You have to like live your life. Personally, I think I've just talked to my friends and family a lot about it, and I watch the news every day just about, and I never used to watch the news, basically just to see what's actually going on in our world because it's scary. And I know at school they have like counseling center that where students can go to, and I think if that's what the step you have to take, I think that's a really good idea because it's better to talk about it rather than be scared and keep it all inside of you.
The Counseling Center, in dealing with September 11th incidents, offered group counseling to the campus community, support services. We had a presence during the program that was held on the mall, and afterwards in the student center. We were available in the evening. Up until about midnight, we were there in case anybody wanted to come and talk about how they were reacting to those incidents directly on the day that they were happening. And afterwards, we offered several opportunities for people in the community, both students and faculty and staff, to come to the counseling center and talk about how they were affected personally by the events.
Since the events of September 11th, many people have shown their support by donating various materials to triage centers across the country. Hoboken, Weehawken, and Jersey City are all places in New Jersey where people have gone to help the victims and heroes of September 11th. Monetary donations are still being accepted by various organizations. You can still send donations to the September 11th Fund, New York State World Trade Center Relief Fund, and to the American Red Cross.